Hello and welcome to Traces of the Past. Today, we're diving deep into Mesopotamia. We're going to talk about its incredible world-changing legacies and one of its most famous, most mysterious legends. If you enjoy this, please don't forget to like, share, and comment down below.
So, let me just start with a wild question for you. What if one of the most famous landmarks in all of history, a place on the ultra-exclusive list of the 7 wonders of the ancient world, was a complete ghost? What if it never even existed? Well, that's the puzzle we're going to try and piece together.
To do that, we have to travel way, way back to the cradle of civilization itself, Mesopotamia. This is the land nestled between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, in what we now call Iraq. It's really where the story of human society as we know it gets started.
And that brings us right to our first stop, and our central mystery. We're talking about a wonder of the world that seems to have just vanished, leaving behind nothing but a fantastic story.
Just try to picture what ancient writers described. They talked about a breathtaking, man-made mountain of gardens, with trees and waterfalls rising up in tiers, almost like it was floating in the middle of a hot, dry desert, a green paradise seemingly hanging in the air.
And the story behind it? Well, it's a love story. The legend says the great King Nebuchadnezzar II built this impossible structure for his wife because she was homesick. She missed the lush, green mountains where she grew up. What a romantic gesture, right? That is, if it's actually true.
But okay, let's put a pin in that mystery for just a second, because before we can even guess if they could build something so incredible, you need to understand the actual genius of the people who live there. We're talking about the Sumerians, and trust me, they secretly designed the world you're living in right now.
These people were total game changers. They built the world's first real cities, places like Ur and Uruk. They invented the wheel. Yeah, the wheel. They figured out how to build these massive irrigation systems to turn the desert into farmland. But maybe their most powerful invention is just a number you use every single day.
Seriously, think about that for a second. An idea dreamt up 5,000 years ago that completely controls your schedule. What could it possibly be?
It's the number 60. And you can see its power everywhere. The Sumerians didn't count in base 10 like we do. They used a base 60 system. And that single choice thousands of years ago is why we have 60 seconds in a minute, 60 minutes in an hour, and 360 degrees in a circle. Your watch is literally running on Sumerian time. It's wild.
Okay, so they mastered time. What's next? Well, how about mastering thought itself? This next invention didn't just change the world, it's the invention that officially ended prehistory.
It's called cuneiform, and all that means is wedge-shaped. It wasn't an alphabet like we have, but a super smart system of wedge-shaped marks that stood for sounds and ideas, all pressed into soft clay. And the process was so simple, it was brilliant. You just grab some wet clay from the river, shape it into a little tablet, press your marks into it with a reed, and then just leave it in the sun to bake hard. All of a sudden, your ideas, your records, your stories, they could last forever.
And what did they do with this amazing new tech? They wrote the world's first great adventure story, the Epic of Gilgamesh. Because of these clay tablets, we can read about this ancient king's quest for immortality. And get this, it even has a story about a giant flood that's incredibly similar to the story of Noah's Ark.
So, they've figured out time, and they've figured out writing. The next logical step, figuring out how to live together without chaos. This is where the Babylonians, who came after the Sumerians, gave us one of the first great legal systems. King Hammurabi had this completely radical idea. He thought, justice shouldn't just be whatever the king feels like on a particular day. It should be fair, consistent, and written down where everyone can see it. No more secrets. And he went all in. We're talking 282 laws. They covered everything. Business deals, family disputes, you name it. And he had them all carved onto this huge stone pillar and placed it in the middle of the city. Now, we all know the famous one, right? An eye for an eye. And yeah, it sounds pretty harsh to us today. But the core idea behind it is something we still believe in. The punishment should fit the crime. That idea of proportional justice, its roots are right here, carved into this ancient stone. Okay, so now that we've seen just how incredibly advanced these civilizations were, let's go back to where we started. Let's look at that mystery of the hanging gardens again, but with fresh eyes.
I mean, a culture that can literally invent timekeeping, writing, and the rule of law. Surely they could build a big terrace garden, right? The skill was there. The engineering was there. So, what's the problem? Well, the problem is the evidence, or more accurately, the total lack of it. And this is where the real debate is. In the for column, you've got all these detailed stories from later Greek and Roman writers. They had to have heard it from somewhere, right? But in the against column, and this is the killer, there are 0 Babylonian records. Not a single clay tablet mentions their most famous wonder. Archaeologists haven't found any ruins that match, which has led to this other fascinating theory. Maybe the gardens were real, but they weren't in Babylon at all. They were in a rival city, Nineveh, and history just got the address wrong.
At the end of the day, maybe we're focusing on the wrong thing. The Hanging Gardens might just be a beautiful story. But Mesopotamia's real wonders, they aren't lost at all. They are all around us. They are the invisible ideas, like time, writing, and law, that literally built the foundation of our modern world.
All of these world-changing ideas started as simple marks on a piece of clay. So I'll leave you with a final thought to chew on. If you could be like Hammurabi and carve one single rule into a tablet for everyone in the world to follow today, what would it be? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. And be sure to subscribe for our next episode, where we trace another piece of the past.